The Chicago Bears are in first place in the NFC North. We live in the worst possible world.
All right, welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler up at Harvard University for an instant reaction to the Lions' 9-16 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Ziggy, they got to stop putting these Eagles games in prime time, man. It's they're tough watches. I mean, if you're a big fan of defense, then I guess you're happy about this, but between the Packer game,
I mean, the Eagles played good defense, I suppose, but this game was yet another just nightmare.
yeah, it was a tough watch. The Eagles defense has just been phenomenal, and there were a lot of Eagles fans who came into the Lion Eagle preview that we put out, where we said the Lions were going to win this football game, and they were saying, you guys just don't know our team. You don't know our team. And you know what? I guess we underrated the Philly defense, which is now just 2 weeks in a row. Hold the Packers to 7 points, hold the Lions to 9. Truly unbelievable performances from them in back-to-back weeks here, especially when their offense isn't really showing up. They've completely put the team on their back and carried them now to 8-2. And it's just scary to think if the Eagles wind up with the 1 seed again, going into that building when it's freezing cold with that defense, with that crowd behind them. Man, I'm not trying to backtrack anything here. I'm just reacting to the evidence in front of us, as you would say. That that Eagle team looked scary tonight, and Jared Goff was, 14 for 37.
You don't see that from Jared Goff ever.
No, I mean, this is not the new Jared Goff that we've seen. I don't even want to say the new Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff on the Lions, other than the start in the 2022 season, has been one of the best quarterbacks in football, and you're watching him tonight. He looks uncomfortable. Just the way he's moving around, it is uncomfortable. Passes batted down. 14 for 37, 255 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Only sacked twice, but there were guys in his face all night. He was clearly rattled.
Yeah, he threw out of a lot of sacks, which is part of why that sack number is low. Look, it's Jalen Phillips has completely transformed this Philadelphia defense. We talked about in our preview. We said they've gotten tons of production from the interior. The exterior, they've gotten a lot less from, and they traded for Jalen Phillips, hoping he could slot in and revive some of that magic that he had in Miami back when they had Vic Fangio doing the defensive coordinating. Again, it's only been 2 weeks. You don't want to overreact too much. It looks like it's working.
Real quick, I just want to say, appreciate everyone for tuning in. We got a bunch of people in the chat right now. We'll get to super chats towards the end of the show. Past 27,000 subscribers on our channel today, which is really cool for us. We appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, and you could get alerted for all the content we have coming out. There's going to be a lot coming out towards the rest of the season here, and man, it's going to be a tight NFC North race with the Bears in the lead, as Ziggy said off the top of the show. But yeah, just to get back to Jalen Phillips for a moment here, he ends the night, 5 total tackles. He has two QB hits, including a sack in there. He's all over the place. There's so many guys you can shout out on this Eagle defense, but Howie Roseman has to just be sitting there like, I'm dealing with a bunch of idiots when he's looking at the rest of the GMs. I wonder if that's what he thinks in his head, because he's sitting there with a couple extra third-round picks. He goes, we could use some extra pass rush here. We really can use some help. So outside of getting Brandon Graham back, because we love BG around here, but he is old at this point. I wonder if I could flip a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips, a monster down Miami who's going to be gone anyway. And no, it's like no other team in the league can think to do these things.
Well, I don't think that's fair. Jalen Phillips was coming off 2 bad seasons and had shown that he can only play well when he's in the Vic Fangio defense. There's only one team in the NFL that has Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator.
I don't know. I feel like Howie Roseman plays on easy mode. That feels like that's the way it is there. Oh, Jalen Carter falls in the draft. Let's take him. Let's take the number 1 prospect. Oh, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell.
It's really good when you ignore the things he's done that haven't gone well and say everything he does is super easy and great.
I'm just saying there are a lot of situations.
Job, but making it sound like he's the only person who considered giving up draft capital for an edge rusher at the trade deadline is kind of silly.
I'm just saying.
Say he made a good move.
He made a good move there, but it's not like that was not a shocking move where it was like, oh man, like, Jalen Phillips is a good football player, Ziggy.
Sure. Jalen Phillips is also perennially injured.
And giving up a third rounder is not that.
His past 2 seasons in Miami, that's just true.
Yeah, giving up a third rounder.
He's been in Miami has gotten worse since his rookie season.
Howie Roseman does a great job building that team, and it feels easy to me. Yeah, maybe it's not. To me, it seems it that way. But you got Quinion Mitchell now, who's just a complete lockdown cornerback, and it was given Amon-Ra on that. The passing attack fits all day. Nakobe Dean, you said, took over the game. Like, this Eagles defense is good enough, it appears, to carry them all the way, possibly back to the Super Bowl if the offense is going to have the struggles that they're having. And
we'll
it's
see.
scary.
You don't want to overreact to this. The Eagles have had huge issues with their cornerbacks up until this point in the season. They're coming off 2 pretty good games, but it has been up and down from that quarterback room. We're only a couple weeks away from Eagles beat writers saying that it's apocalyptic in the Eagles cornerback room, and letting someone go to the Minnesota Vikings could doom their season.
It probably also makes a lot of the Packer fans feel a lot better watching that Eagle performance or watching that Lion performance. And it's kind of one of the things that scares you if you're a Lion fan tonight, right? Seeing Goff look like that. And this is now, 2 times in the last 3 weeks that we've seen. So sandwiched in between 2 poor Goff performances is the electrifying Commanders 44-22 win, where they set all their records on offense for the year. But just the week before that was when Brian Flores dialed up the heat and the Vikings got home, right? We were talking about how the Vikings had tried doing that before, can't get to Goff. This year, that's not the case, right? We saw Jalen Carter have a lot of success tonight. We saw the pass rush getting home, sometimes without even sending the blitz. And it makes you wonder, okay, that interior of the Lions' offensive line is something we've circled as something you need to watch. And it's been exposed the past 2 of the past 3 weeks. And the Lions look nothing like the Lions when that's the case. Maybe were we a little too quick to get back on the train after the Commander win, you think?
No, I mean, what the Commander win, and you have to keep in mind, right? The Lions' interior offensive line has continued to get hurt. Tate Ratledge went out for the game. So there are more injuries than then.
No, but that's a problem.
We didn't look at the Commanders game and look at that and say that game proves that the Lions are good.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Lions are good. We know they have a bunch of talent. There's a reason that even after this week, they're still going to be favored to win the NFC North. What we learned is the Lions can still play well. And I agree. I still think that this Lions team is the best team in the NFC North. I probably still think they're the best team in the NFC even after this game. They just had a brutal game.
To me, I'm dropping. You have to drop. To me, you have to drop them behind Philly in the contender race, and I think you'd have to drop the
because
Seahawks.
They lost by 1 score to Philadelphia on the road.
Yeah, because I'm not sure that the next time they play, Philly won't do the same thing defensively. That's why. Yeah. that was dominant.
I'm not sure the Lions will go 0 for 5 on 4th down the next time they play either.
Well, that's part of it, is that Dan Campbell is so aggressive on 4th down, and sometimes Ziggy, I've said this before, sometimes when Dan's that aggressive, it winds up costing them. And yes,
I don't think punting 4 or 5 more times would have changed the outcome of this game.
No, but you could have had the field goal on the. I didn't necessarily disagree with any of the calls.
Well, so this is cowardly.
Tonight.
You can't say sometimes it costs you. He's making the right choices, and I agree, but sometimes it costs you, and I don't like it.
Look, I understand the play calling, but in a night where you're struggling to score, you're on the 3-yard line, you can't pick up 3 yards all night. Yeah, maybe you kick the field goal. Maybe you don't run a fake punt. Maybe you put out your Jahmyr Gibbs and give him the ball.
Field goals. They still lose the game.
Yeah, maybe you give Jahmyr Gibbs the ball instead of running a fake punt. Maybe when you're on your side of the 50, you don't go for it and give Philly the ball in plus territory. There's another 3 points for the Eagles. Maybe when you're on the 35-yard line or whatever it was, you kick the field goal, which you wind up hitting. Like, there's 9 points. There's the win. Dan Campbell's very aggressive. I understand the logic why he goes for it, but yes, that does carry an inherent risk. And when he converts like they did against the Ravens, he's brilliant, and everyone feels great. But tonight, it cost them. It absolutely cost them, 6 to 9 points tonight. and then the game like this, where it's 16-9 is the final, that matters. And this is what I say about it, Ziggy. Come playoff time, you're worried about Jared Goff having a game like this, and Dan Campbell's decisions could come back to haunt you. Like that is true about this Lions team.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good way of thinking about making decisions, because kicking 2 field goals, right? This is a different way to think about it. If they kick a field goal when they're at the 3 and they lose 12-16, you say, boy, they should have gone for the touchdown. Those 3 points didn't matter at all. And then you'd say not going for it haunted them. So this is just not a good way to think about making decisions.
Yeah, but you're pointing to just the one 4th down. There were a couple more.
As I say, let's give them a couple more field goals. It doesn't make a difference to the outcome of the game. When your offense is struggling and you're in the red zone, you've got to make a choice.
Then that's, again, I understand it. I do understand it. I'm just saying it can be costly, and tonight it was. And I understand you saying that's not the logic you should have, but it's one of the things, Jared Goff playing like this tonight now. If I'm a Lions fan, I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm not nervous that Jared Goff is lost or anything like that. I think the Lions they'll still beat the crap out of the bad teams. But when you're playing against Philly, when you're playing Green Bay, right, with Micah and Rashawn Gary on Thanksgiving, if teams are going to be this successful getting to Goff and disrupting him, it's a very different Lions team when that's the case. How concerned would you be?
The offensive line needs to play better. There is no way around
Straight up,
it. Yeah. I totally agree with that. It's certainly a worry, and it's a bigger concern than it was last year.
Yeah.
But facing the Eagles' defensive line is always tough. And this, I think, was a particularly bad game for them. They just did not seem ready for this. As the year goes on, I continue to think the Lions' offensive line will get better. It is a concern. Last year, you had no worry about that Lions' interior offensive line. But I'm not willing to say the season is over, or even that I think they're knocked off the top tier contenders because they had a bad night in Philly this week. That's good. So this is going to be the reactionary take. You'll see, and I know this isn't your take, Paul, but people are going to say all they've done is beat bad teams. They lost to the Chiefs bad on the road. They lost to the Eagles on the road. They're in danger of losing the division. You should count them out. That is not the right way to think about this Detroit team. But they do, if they want to have better results than last year, they need to start playing significantly better football very soon because the 1 seed feels out of reach.
Yeah, I'm not putting them. I don't know if I'm putting them down a tier. Maybe I'm elevating Philly back up because I had Philly drop into tier 2 on their own. Maybe I'm pushing Philly back up, but yeah, I'm not putting Detroit down. I'm just nervous now for the first time this year about them. And yes, it's in Philly on the road. But to see Goff play this way, the 2 of the past 3 weeks, it's concerning. They're going to need that game against Green Bay now on Thanksgiving. They should be able to take care of the Giants. They beat the crap out of bad teams, especially at home. That Green Bay Thanksgiving game becomes really, really, and yeah, the Bears are still in first place. So the race down the stretch in the North should be riveting between those 3 teams. Obviously, there's one more team in the North. I'm not going to get too much into the Vikings tonight. A very disappointing loss to Chicago today.
Chicago, again, number 1, undisputed in the NFC North somehow.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought about the Bears?
It won't be for long, but they should enjoy it while they're there.
I love watching Jahmyr Gibbs, though. I'm not going to do too much glazing at Jahmyr Gibbs, but he was the only guy who really showed up, it felt like, for Detroit. Jameson Williams has been very good with Dan Campbell calling plays as well. But Gibbs has 107 yards receiving tonight. Only 12 carries for 39 yards. So completely shut down on the ground again, Detroit, after having the most rushing yards of the season last week. They just couldn't get anything going at all. It felt like if Gibbs didn't, Williams had 4 catches. But outside of that, it was basically just getting the ball to Gibbs and letting him make a play with his legs. And otherwise, no offense for the Lions tonight. You could chalk it up to a bad game, but I'm starting to think it might just be a little bit of a problem they're going to have moving forward here as the season goes on. We didn't talk about this. That final pass interference call, just horrendous. Just so bad on Rock Yassin.
It's bad. I try not to focus too much on calls like that because there's a whole game that got you there. But it was just an unbelievably baffling flag. I don't really know what they saw out there. And the Lions, I'll admit, were lucky to be in the game at that point, but they should have had one more chance. I think we have no good reason to think that chance would have gone any different than every other Lions offensive possession but one up until that point.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see them marching down the field, so I don't think it affected the outcome of the game. But that was a tough call.
It was shockingly bad. And how often do you hear announcers straight up go, "That's a horrible call"? And Collinsworth is like, that is as bad as it gets, basically. And it's one, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the Lions were doing anything. You saw what happened after, finally someone stopped the tush push twice in a row. And they just moved backwards, which was, they were just off tonight. How about the tush push also? Getting stopped, what, 3 times? Was it?
Yeah, well, calling false starts helps.
Yeah, calling the false start, but I thought they stuffed it 3 times.
The Lions did a very good job handling that play.
Yeah, you got to give Detroit credit there, especially, twice in a row to keep the game to keep the game in play. That's one thing, Nick Sirianni also 2 weeks in a row, he has the 4th down call against Green Bay, the baffling call when they should just punt it to give the Packers a chance. I thought that was a much worse decision than going for it on 4th and 1 tonight. But when you have a backup center in the game, they showed Cam Jurgens walking off the field right before the tush push on 4th and 1. It's like, do you really want to give Detroit any life here? And we'll have to monitor what happens with Jurgens, because if that tush push isn't automatic, that's a superpower that Philadelphia has. And
yeah, being able to look at 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, and say we convert this 100% of the time or 95% of the time.
It's something that we as Vikings.
That's how they assemble these Death Star drives where they take 13 minutes out of the clock and score a touchdown.
I love calling it the Death Star drives, because you're totally right too. That's how they melt teams away and they take away all their hope. If they can't do that, we're us as Vikings fans. We get to third. If it's 2nd and 1 as a Viking fan, you just go, "Oh God, here we go again."
Screw it up.
How 3rd and 1? We read that crazy stat where JJ McCarthy was 0 for 14 throwing the ball on 3rd or 4th and 3 yards or less. Like the Eagles, you don't realize how much of a luxury that is until it's taken away from you, until you're on the goal line and it's 4th and goal, you need a yard, and you're on the 50-yard line, 4th and 1, trying to put a game away, and you can't get it. That's another thing to monitor. How's Cam Jurgens, how's this tush push going to respond next week after being stuffed 3 times and having the false start, having it actually called on Philly? I thought that was just another, a little detail of this game to take away. But yeah, just
let's be clear that the baffling officiating decisions did not just go against Detroit. There was also that low block on AJ Brown.
The one where he tripped?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was I know he tripped, but he did hit the guy low.
He tripped.
I know, but it can still be a penalty, no? If you fall into somebody.
It was incidental contact.
Oh, okay.
And he tripped.
Okay. AJ Brown, how many targets did he have tonight? Isn't it kind of funny how it felt like every time they got the ball to AJ Brown or even went after him, like it just felt kind of negative on the night.
I mean, AJ Brown had 7 receptions.
No, he did.
He got the ball.
He had 7 receptions, but for 49 yards. And earlier on, I don't think they were forcing him the ball, and I don't think Philly cares anymore, truly, about how AJ Brown feels. But it was kind of funny earlier in the night. They had a couple throws to him that behind the line of scrimmage. It's like, oh my gosh, he's going to be furious on Twitch later this week.
It is funny to hear the fans just erupt in applause when AJ Brown gets the ball. They're like, please don't leave us. Please just accept our love and adoration. Don't go.
There's definitely something wrong, though, with the Philly offense. It doesn't feel... They have these little moments where they have the Death Star drives, as you've now coined it. But outside of that, I mean, the last 2 weeks, yes, they're 2-0 against 2 of the top teams in the NFC, but they've also scored a combined 26 points. And that's also concern. I don't think you're leaving this game feeling great if you're an Eagle fan. You feel great about the defense, but there's still so many concerns offensively.
But if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm happy that I've beaten the 2 top dogs of the NFC North in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think when you combine these two, again, there's worries. But this goes back to something you said earlier, Paul, which I don't quite agree, but I'm going to bring it up.
Sure.
You're always going to feel okay on the Paul Farrington world after a win. There might be problems, there might be worries, but after 2 wins in a row against good opponents, whatever issues you see, it's tough to be too upset about it. And they get some, I know going to Dallas for Philly, there's ups and downs there, but Dallas and Chicago, like the rest of their schedule is a reprieve, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
The hardest part's over. And if you look at tiebreakers, they've beaten the Rams. They've beaten the Lions. They've beaten the Packers. The Seahawks just lost today. The path for Philly to get the 1 seed is very straightforward from here.
Yeah, beat the Bucs too. They won that game as well.
I think the Bucs will be competing for the 1 seed, but
did the Bears play the Eagles on Black Friday? Is that the Black Friday game?
Yes.
So the Bears, who do the Bears have next week?
They host the Steelers.
Oh, wait a second.
This could be a big reality check for Chicago, or alternatively, this could be the most exciting. Next week could be the most exciting week of football in Chicago since they've made a Super Bowl run.
So wait, the Bears next week. Okay, let me just get this right. The Buccaneers go to LA. So in the event that the Bucks beat the Rams and the Bears take care of the Steelers at home, who it seemed like will probably be without Aaron Rodgers, he broke a bone in his hand.
Yeah, we'll see. The Rodgers injury, I'd expect him to be out next week, probably.
So the Bears play Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. The Bucks find a way to win in LA. And that game is for the 1 seed in the NFC.
Correct. Though,
although we'll have
Rams
maybe
would
some
be
tiebreakers.
8-3 at that point, so I don't know how the Bears Rams tiebreaker would go.
Yeah, then there would be a Rams, Bears, Eagles
Yeah, the 3-way tiebreakers get complicated, but Chicago would have an opportunity to enter into the 1 seed in the NFC.
Oh, this is just ridiculous. What is happening with this season? How are the Bears going to be fighting for a 1 seed in a week? And JJ McCarthy can't complete an 8-yard out route.
I mean, look, as Historical Gamer says, like, if the season ended today, the Lions missed the playoffs, and the wild card game is Bears Packers in Chicago.
Are the I need to look at the standings right now. It's just such a crazy year. So yeah, right now the Chiefs and Ravens are out on the AFC side. The Chiefs, Ravens, and Bengals, who we all thought would be missing the playoffs.
Yeah. Though the Bengals we can at least set aside because that's because of an injury.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe the Lions are the 8 seed.
Yeah, the Lions are out of the playoffs right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that
everybody
Viking,
who says that ties are equivalent to losses. No, they are not.
No, that Viking loss also stings here. Like looking at the actual standings, we'd be a game out right now. Gosh.
What is going on in the NFC? Like something, well, I don't know what is going on in the NFC North this season, but something is up here. And all of these teams play each other to close the season, right? The Bears in their last 5 weeks have 3 NFC North games, including 2 against Green Bay.
Oh, it's going to be great.
An opportunity for huge chaos in the NFC North to finish the season.
Yeah, the whole year it's going to be unbelievable coming down to the finish. Like so many teams are in play, and it's also kind of fun to have teams like the Lions, like the Chiefs and the Ravens. They're chasing right now. So it's not like we're watching. It would be a different feeling if New England and Indy were chasing playoff spots and we had the regulars at the top.
That you expect. There's always some cycle of teams in the playoffs.
But this is, the main contenders, still the Vegas Super Bowl odds favorites, right? Like, who are the top Super Bowl favorites right now, if we were to take a look here? How many of them are not in the playoffs? Let's see. I'm going to pull it up.
We'll see. But the Lions will get adjusted soon. But, yeah, I mean, in the top 6, you have 2 of those teams are not projected or are not currently in the playoffs, and the Ravens are there at 8. The Broncos, who have a good shot to get the 1 seed in the AFC, are 10th.
It's unbelievable.
The Patriots, who have the the 2 teams in the AFC racing for the 1 seed right now are Denver and New England, with Indianapolis right behind. Denver and New England, Super Bowl odds-wise, are considered basically non-factors.
It's crazy. Wow, Indianapolis up there plus 900. I guess that's assuming they would be the 1.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to give Denver a little more respect. Plus 1,300.
You don't, it turns out.
Yeah, I guess you do. Oh, I'm not a big Bronco guy, people know, but today's win was impressive.
The NFL is just, it's a weird season. But as you see Philadelphia going and beating Detroit at home, it seems like some things don't change.
Yeah.
Playing in Philly is always hard. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense might be putrid, and they might have cowardly play calling, but they'll get it done at the end of the day. This Philadelphia defensive line can take care of business.
If the Eagles are the 1 seed, they should be the pick to return to the Super Bowl. That's what I'd say. Even if they go into
count on the Rams. If the Rams have to travel to Philly, I wouldn't count on it going differently this year. Would you?
I wouldn't count on it.
This team is good and you love them, but going to Philadelphia,
I think the Rams are the most equipped to go into Philly and win that game. They have the best quarterback. They have the best. I don't know if I could just say the best offense straight up, but I trust Stafford more than I trust anyone else in those spots. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I don't feel good about Tampa, Chicago, Seattle, Definitely not after today. Green Bay. No, Detroit would probably be number 2, and we just saw what happened to them. It's vital for Philly to get that 1 seed because in the same sense, if Philly goes on the road, I don't really trust them that much. The defense travels, yes, but their offense doesn't put up points. So it's going to be great.
And if you're Philly, all you have to do to get that 1 seed is win the games you really should win. You still have the Commanders twice. You have the Raiders at home. You go to Dallas, which you should be able to win. You host Chicago. You go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. And then if you can win most of those, you can afford going to Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this here. Yeah, it's going to be a great battle as we continue the season. You got to give a shout out to the Lions defense tonight. They kept them in this game throughout the majority of the evening. When you have this kind of defensive performance from Philly and you have the early interception, right? Goff has the ball bad up in the air. It's picked off. They hold them to 3 there. They go for it a handful of times, give them the ball in plus territory, and the Lions get stops, holding them to field goals. There's really only, 1 or 2 drives where Philly, really just the 10-play touchdown drive. Other than that, they're down a bunch of guys. They had 3 of their 4 starters in the secondary out. Another spirited effort from the Lions defense. And I thought for the most part, they did a pretty good job containing Jalen Hurts. He got outside the pocket and made some plays with his legs more toward the end of the game. In the beginning, I thought they did an excellent job containing. But that defense has really been showing up as well with a bunch of injuries. So that's one positive takeaway for Detroit is, man, they're still showing up. They're still fighting hard despite having a bunch of guys out.
I mean, this was not – they didn't win the game and things didn't go right, but this was not an embarrassing showing from Detroit. It's not like they went to Philly and got blown out. They were competitive for the whole game and they lost by a score and realistically should have gotten one more chance to go down the field. That's not to say they played well. That's not to say they played good enough. That's not to say they were robbed. But this was not a game where Philadelphia dominated them. That's why I don't feel confident saying that they need to be a tier below Philly after this game.
No, I'm not putting them a tier below Philly. I'm putting Philly back up. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, fair enough. Philly's coming off 2 great wins, but the NFC is very, very competitive.
Well, and this is what I meant, Ziggy, before during our reaction. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check out our reaction to the Vikings and Packers games earlier today. I was talking about how I just want to win, right, and how winning cures all. And I think Philly is a good example of that tonight, where they win the game. We're talking about the defense. We're talking about how great this defense has been. Offense not playing particularly well. A.J. Brown's giving them some fits, but let's figure that out. It's just funny how, nothing changes, right? Let's say Detroit goes down and scores a touchdown, go for 2, they win the game. The rest of the game remains the same. We lead this game, probably ripping Sirianni for going for it. And then after that, we're saying, yeah, this offense is struggling. And what are you going to do with A.J. Brown? You target him tonight, he still doesn't really do much, and Saquon looks slower, and you just start going down that spiral. And that's why that's what makes Philly so scary, I think, and not scary in a good way, in that they're a couple losses away from feeling like they can spiral, because I don't think that locker room is in a great place right now. But finding a way to win just kind of keeps that wound together. And yeah, it might unravel at some point, but you're able to just push that down forward. And look, if you get the 1 seed, you kind of get that reset for the playoffs. And at that point, we're talking 1 game at a time. So that's what I mean when I'm saying the winning matters.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. If you're trying, winning matters when we're thinking about getting the 1 seed and going to the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. Winning does not matter when you're trying to look at whether or not the future of the team is going to be any good.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, we've got people in the chat here getting mad at me for saying that this was not Philly completely dominating Detroit. And I'm going to get more Eagles fans in the comments. In games where you punt 7 times, you did not completely dominate. This was a defensive battle, and Philly played better football. They deserved to win the game. The offense got more. But it's very hard for me to look at this game where both offenses really struggled and say, yeah, Philly completely dominated Detroit.
Well,
here. Detroit outgained them on offense.
Defensively, Philly dominated.
Yeah, but Detroit's defense dominated too. Jalen Hurts threw for 100 yards. The Eagles didn't even get up to 4 yards of play. They punted 7 times. Detroit's defense played great this game.
They played great, but the takeaway is Philly completely shutting down the Lions offense. To me, that's where people are saying the dominant comes from. Is that the Lions offense looked much more helpless than
the Eagles got to have one good drive on offense and the Lions didn't.
And maybe that's what it comes down to when I'm talking about winning, right? If the Lions win, we're talking about the Lions defense shutting Philly.
Yeah, so both defensive units played really well, both offensive units didn't.
I totally forgot to change the title of the video too. You reminded me that. I'll do that right now. Okay. So there was one other thing I wanted to bring up that people. Oh yeah, when we were talking about the rest of the league, then we'll get to the super chats. I did just want to make the point watching the Rams and the Seahawks today, right? With Sam Darnold struggles, he had 4 interceptions. This was basically what the Vikings were worried about. And we're not going to make this a Viking reaction. I just want to get this point out there. When the Vikings made their decision to go with J.J. McCarthy, the fear was that Sam Darnold, while, yeah, you could probably trust him to have a solid season, it was, hey, when we get to that critical spot, is he going to perform the way he did against the Lions last year or the Rams last year? The Rams like he did today. You were hoping that JJ, while it would take some time, and you probably weren't going to get 35 touchdowns like at 4,500 yards like Sam gave you, you were hoping when you got to that big moment that he could deliver. And whether or not that was fair to Sam based on just 2 games, that's another question. But what you saw today in the meltdown in LA, that backs up what the Vikings were thinking. Now it's just completely backfired on us because JJ's been horrible and the transition is taking much longer to develop him than I have to imagine they expected. But that just kind of was like, okay, a little reminder of Darnold's been great. And I'm not writing the Seahawks off at all. Their defense is awesome. But that's just what the Vikings were thinking. And today it did not look good.
And it's not a coincidence that the worst game of Sam Darnold's season up until this point happens when Zabel gets injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see people on his face all day. It doesn't look pretty. Yeah.
All right. I'm not willing to say Sam Darnold has proved that he's always going to struggle against good competition. It's only been a couple of games and he just hasn't had a lot of opportunity to prove what he will or won't. He clearly struggles against the Rams, though.
Oh, yeah.
3 of the 4 or 5 worst games of his career in moments that matter have been against the Rams.
It is funny that, he's lost 6 games or 7 games over the past 2 years, and 3 of them are to the Rams. It can't make you feel good.
The Rams have his number.
Yeah,
like it's
somewhere in there. He just can't seem to get by.
You have to give Chris Shula a ton of credit for what he's able to do against Sam Darnold.
So, all right, let's get to these super chats here, and then we can call it a night. So,
indeed,
this is the last 2.
We've got a fair number of super chats here. We appreciate everybody from coming in. We'll open up with Michael Merrills. Congrats on 27K subs.
Thank you, Michael.
Year of 27.
Oh, I don't know about that. I am 27 too this year. I'm 27.
27.
You'll be 27.
We're becoming famous when we're 27. That might not be a good thing.
No, yeah,
we got 2 super chats here from Jorge Martinez. One, you get Goff rattled and it's over. He's not him. And then following up on that, you Lions have a ceiling with him at quarterback. I don't see Detroit to be that team of him. McVay didn't want him for a reason.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I will say this. His ceiling with McVay in LA was going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Jared Goff, we don't need to talk about LA Jared Goff anymore. He's been awesome for 3 years. He's been great. But he has also had the Jared Goof game, as our buddy Tom Monroe pointed out tonight. Maybe this was the Jared Goof game. I didn't think it was actually Goff being just horrendous as much as it was, he was
missed
pretty
bad.
He did. He was pretty bad.
But those characteristic throws were missed after he was getting blown up, and usually why he did navigate awkward pockets at weird angles.
Yeah, he looked totally lost. The jump pass was when he had the jump pass, I was like, oh, he's gone tonight. He's gone.
Hey, at least he was trying something. Here we've got one from Grady Loeb. Love you guys. Wish I could see y'all this weekend at Hagermeister Brewery, 4 to 6 p.m. Saturday. He didn't add that part, but that's what you're talking about. It's my 21st birthday. A pack win on my birthday against your Vikings will be a nice surprise.
The worst thing for the Packers today was that the Vikings lost and JJ looked horrible, because the worst that people think the Vikings are, the worse the Packers will play against them. Because the Packers can't beat good teams. The Packers don't show up. The Packers can't beat bad teams.
If the Packers win in Lambeau against the Vikings, I'm not sure I'd call that a birthday surprise. But happy soon-to-be birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm just Kyle. Brad Holmes has failed this team with his management of the offensive line after Frank Ragnow retired. That's our downfall.
I mean, they still win.
So he retired in June after free agency and the draft was over. They drafted interior offensive linemen. They've brought in guys to replace him. I don't think it's as simple as just get another all-pro, all-world center and just keep riding.
No, and Ziegler left, right? But you went out and you drafted Ratledge. Like they used a first-round pick on the O-line too. I think it's a little more difficult than that as well.
But I definitely get the frustration. Quasar0121S, is that the worst PI call of all time? Well, my Los Angeles Rams can think of one worse pass interference call.
Well, I'm assuming you're thinking the Saints one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Super Bowl on the line, and you just bulldoze the guy.
Get away with it, too. Insane.
Yeah.
Just absolutely insane. And you know what? Good. The Saints deserve
that. But it was certainly up there. D-Mize, always a big supporter. We appreciate it. Comes in saying, I've been telling you that this Lions team is overrated. Also, the way certain FS1 ESPN TV hosts were talking, cough, cough, Jeff Saturday and Danny Parkins about Jordan last week, it better be 100 times worse for Goff.
That's what I'm saying. Packers fans are probably feeling a little bit better tonight seeing the Eagle defense do that to Detroit after Detroit sets all their records against the Commanders. Yes, you don't feel happy about getting shut down still in your building on Monday Night Football, but you go, at least they did it to them too.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to conclude with a bunch of super chats from Historical Gamer here. We really appreciate it. So one was the one I called out earlier about the playoffs of the Bears, Packers being the wild card and the Lions missing the playoffs. And then he points out Green Bay is a murderer's row coming up. Vikings, sure. Glad you're putting us at the top of the murderer's row. Yeah. I'm going to pretend that's what that means.
Yeah, we'll take that any day of the week.
It's a divisional game, yeah. But then Lions, Bears, Broncos, Bears, Ravens, Vikings.
That's a brutal run.
In terms of remaining strength of schedule opponent win percentage, the Packers and Bears are tied at first. But you have to keep in mind for the Packers, the team they face with the lowest win percentage is the Ravens. And the Ravens are a lot better than their record would tell you.
Ziggy, real quick, just say win or loss. Ready for the Packers hosting the Vikings.
Win.
At Detroit, Thanksgiving.
I'm feeling a win.
Hosting the Bears.
Win.
So that would get them to 9-3-1.
Yeah.
At Denver.
Loss.
At Chicago.
Win.
10-4-1. Hosting the Ravens.
It'll be a tough one. I can see that going either way. I'll say the Ravens will be back against the wall, playoffs on the line. I'm going to go loss.
So 10-5-1 at Minnesota.
Win.
Okay. 11-5-1. That might that should probably be that would be enough. Yeah, that would be enough right there to win the North.
Probably, unless the Lions win the rest of their games.
Well, you'd have the tiebreaker over them, wouldn't you? Oh wait, Detroit would have half a game.
Yeah, indeed, they'd have that half a game. That's when the tie can kill you. A couple more from Historical Gamer. Philly had better coaching. This is one of those games where Campbell couldn't get out of his own way.
Well, Ziggy would disagree with you on that.
Setting aside the decisions, because I don't think that's what this is referring to. I need to go back and look at the play calling a lot more closely this game. I don't know if there's something that Dan Campbell could have done differently with the way this offensive line was performing. Right? The Lions have a clear offensive identity. You can't change that in the middle of the game. I need to go back and look more closely at why this game in particular was such a disaster, and if there's anything he could have called differently.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch this too.
Because I'll be honest, watching this game felt so miserable that it was hard for me to dial in really closely on all the stuff that was going on because it was just all bad.
The Historical Gamer also says 5 of the Packers' 6 wins. They scored 27 points. Oh, that's pretty funny.
So maybe next year in the 2027 playoffs.
And one more from Jorge Martinez here. He says, "What's the Bears' record at the end of the season?" So right there,
hold on, Paul. You just played that game with me with the Packers. I'm going to play that game with you of the Bears.
Did you have the Packers winning both of the games against Chicago?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
But you might not.
Okay.
The Bears are 7-3 right now. They host the Steelers.
I think they win that.
8-3. Go to Philly.
Lose.
8-4. At Green Bay.
Lose at Green Bay.
8-5. Host the Browns.
You win that at home.
Even if Myles Garrett gets 7 sacks, which he might.
Myles Garrett versus Caleb will be... Look, Caleb can run around very well with the best of them, but Myles Garrett's someone that's pretty hard to escape from.
Yeah, so that's 9-5. You host the Packers.
I have to pick Chicago right now.
Okay, you're 10-5. You go to San Francisco.
Going to San Fran. San Fran is a weird team, man. I'm going to pick the 49ers.
Okay, and then hosting the Lions.
I think Detroit wins.
So you've got them at 10-7.
I had 10-7.
But if they win that 49ers game, that game hosting the Lions could be win the division or miss the playoffs.
Yeah, if
the Packers play out sort of like we think they might, that game could decide the division.
If you swap with what me and you just did right there, if you swap one of those Packers games that you had them winning for a loss, that Chicago Lions game is probably for the division because they'd be ahead of Green Bay.
And it does not feel like years past where you could just pencil in 2 wins when the Bears played the Packers. Bears won a Lambeau last year.
No, it would be. I get that the Bears. I don't believe in Chicago to be a serious playoff threat. I really don't. They're not that good in my eyes. They are 7-3 though. They
can scam their way to winning the division, just like they did. What was it? In that Packers wild card.
No, but they're clearly a team with a lot of heart. They've been playing. I don't even want to say they've been playing like great football lately, but they're winning games. And really, it's more of the Packers are not playing like the Green Bay Packers that beat the Bears by 30 points 10 years ago. We can't. And maybe this is just me being a Viking fan and not part of this rivalry and understanding that the Packers are going to whoop their ass. But the way Green Bay is playing right now, I mean, they're playing close games with the Giants. They're losing to the Panthers. What? Yeah, is it insane to think that the Bears can win at home against Green Bay? No.
Even if the Bears were a terrible team, if they were the Tennessee Titans of the NFC, that's not a guarantee Green Bay wins there, as we've seen.
No. Chicago has a real chance to win the NFC North right now.
Yeah, realistically, they need to go 4-3 from here on out to be in a really strong position to win the North.
I do love seeing, though, that all the Packers fans are like, LOL, it's Chicago. Come on, seriously, guys. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Look, the Bears keep winning games in bizarre fashions, and the Packers keep losing or nearly losing games in bizarre fashions. When those two forces combine,
yeah,
you never know.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Again, if you haven't liked and commented or subscribed to the channel, we urge you to do so. Just crossing 27,000 subs. Yeah, the year 27, I guess. Again, we will also be at the Hagemeister Brewery next weekend on Saturday from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, doing a little meet and greet, hanging out, watching some college football, having fun. If you enjoy the show and just want to come by and say hi, we're looking forward to see you there. And then one more thing, you can check out the Vikings and Packer reaction from earlier today. Ziggy and I'm not sure what time it'll be dropping, but tomorrow at some point expect an NFL Week 11 reaction. I'm assuming that Ziggy will be around. Otherwise, I'll put one out. And to touch on some of the other games, because this really was with the Rams Seahawks, the Broncos Chiefs, Bills Bucks, a lot of big-time matchups in Week 11.
And it might not hurt to revisit some of the games we saw earlier today. I always find like once a day passes, I go back to it in the morning and I just see the games in a new way. It could be nice to get some different perspective.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's nice to digest it and be able to think a little bit more about how these games actually played out than just the initial, are you kidding me? We lost to the Bears on a walk-off field goal. So we'll wrap it up. Ziggy, awesome job today. Chat, awesome job today. You guys have been awesome this entire time. There's been comments flowing in and out the entire stream, and it's fun seeing people debate each other a little bit and always in a respectful manner. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and hope everyone has a great week.
All right. Later, folks.
Okay, that should end.